Hi, and welcome to our Henry V prologue, everything you need to know to enjoy the play. 3 years ago, we presented Richard II, the first play in our epic Fire and Rain series. Just as the pandemic started, we presented Henry IV Part 1, and last year, we presented Henry IV Part 2. This play finishes the rise of Henry V. If you've seen them all, please stop by our table in the lobby, show us your passport, and you'll get your free set of dog tags, I Saw the Rise of Henry V. In following seasons, we'll continue our Fire and Rain series with the Wars of the Roses and the end of the Plantagenet dynasty. Thanks so much for joining us on this terrific journey. So, what's the story so far? Let's begin by looking back at what we learned in Richard II. Edward III had 5 sons. He and his firstborn son and heir, the Black Prince, conquered most of France at the Battle of Crécy, but alas, the crown passed to his grandson, Richard II, who was a wasteful and petty king. He banished his cousin, Henry Bolingbroke, also a grandson and heir to the throne, from England. And when Bolingbroke's father, John of Gaunt, died, Richard took all of his lands. Well, Bolingbroke came back from banishment and overthrew Richard II, seized his crown, and Bolingbroke became King Henry IV. Ta-da! That's Richard II in a nutshell. Now, on to Henry IV, Part 1. Henry Bolingbroke is now King Henry IV. But unhappy with Henry's governance, yet another grandson of Edward III, Roger Mortimer, joins Hotspur and his father Northumberland to become rebels and try to make Mortimer the King of England. Meanwhile, at the Boar's Head Tavern, Henry's oldest son and heir, Prince Hal, is avoiding all battles by drinking and carousing with Falstaff and his band of petty criminals. Hotspur's forces join battle with King Henry's army. The battle is fierce, but eventually, young Prince Hal fights with Hotspur and kills him in battle. Henry IV wins the battle, and Part 1 ends with Henry's promise to end the rebellion and bring down the remaining rebels. Ta-da! That's Henry IV Part 1. Now, Henry IV Part 2. In the second part of Henry IV, Henry's still king, but now he's very ill. He orders his son to fight the remaining rebels. Falstaff is also supposed to go, but he wastes all of his money on drinking and carousing with Mistress Quickly, Pistol, and Bardolph. Henry's younger brother, John of Lancaster, meets with the rebels and agrees to all of their demands if they just give up their arms. But after they do, and their army is dispersed, Lancaster arrests them all for treason and has the leaders killed. King Henry reconciles with Hal on his deathbed, and Hal promises to leave Falstaff and be a better person and a good king. The king passes away, and Hal becomes Henry V. On his way to his coronation, Falstaff approaches Hal, his old drinking buddy, but Hal rejects Falstaff, saying, "I do not know thee, old man." So, now let's meet our cast for Henry V. First of all, Prince Hal is now King Henry V. The rebels in England have now been vanquished, and Henry plans to try to reconquer France for England. But watch for a French and rebel plot to try to kill Henry and put Mortimer on the throne, the same thing the rebels tried to do in Henry IV Part 1. Meanwhile, at the Boar's Head Tavern, we still have Mistress Quickly, the hostess there, Bardolph, and Pistol, all alcoholic thieves and Falstaff's men and former drinking buddies. On the French side, we have Montjoy. He's the herald for the king. He carries the messages between the two armies. The King of France and the Dauphin. The King of France, played by Philip Nolan, who is not Falstaff anymore because he is dead, remembers his defeat against Edward III. But his son, the Dauphin, is confident and overeager to fight with Henry. Princess Catherine, the King of France's daughter. If Henry conquers the French and marries her, then his son will rule both kingdoms. Henry will prepare his armies and invade France, culminating in the Battle of Agincourt, one of the greatest battles of all time. So, here is a quick recap of everything in the rise of Henry V. King Edward III conquered France. His grandson, Richard II, was a wasteful and conceited king that Henry IV usurped. Henry fought off the rebels to keep the crown, but lost France. His son, Hal, was a drunk with Falstaff, but is now king and determined to be a great king and reconquer France. Let's see if he wins. By the way, all these fabulous comics are made by the wonderful Mia Gosling. Her website, goodticklebrain.com, shows all of her comics and has wonderful merchandise, t-shirts, lots of stuff available. Check it out. I hope you enjoyed our prologue. Come back next season and join us for Henry VI, Part 1. If you do, you can get your passport stamped and you'll be on your way to our next prize, I Survived the Wars of the Roses. Enjoy the show.